Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So I thought I would vlog a little bit of what we've been up to for a few days leading up into Halloween. Unfortunately, I had got a migraine, which meant I was gonna have to lay down, which I wasn't super excited about because I've been getting them a ton lately, but anyway, I made the best of it. I decided to watch a few movies while I laid down and that hopefully it would pass eventually. So I watched the Addams Family, the one from like the early 90s. I think it was maybe like 91. I've been watching the OG Addams Family television show a lot this time of year. It's one of my faves from the 60s. Marley was so excited. She gets so excited anytime one of us like lays down in bed during the day. So she was loving it, living her best life. And then after I got done watching that one, I decided to watch Addams Family Values, which I think came out a couple years later. And eventually my migraine did pass, thankfully. But I still wasn't feeling the greatest. So we ended up just watching a movie in bed that night before going to bed, watched the movie 9, which is a Tim Burton film. It's kind of like one of his weirder ones, but it's good. It had been like probably 10 years since we've seen it, so it was nice to watch that. It is kind of weird though. I did like it more than I thought, like I remembered liking it, but John really likes it, so he wanted to watch that. But we just have it on a DVD with Coraline, which is also a really great Tim Burton film. Thankfully, on Friday when I woke up, I felt much better, and I had a bunch of things I wanted to do, so I was happy that I was feeling better. But I spend a lot of time food prepping, like bulk food prepping, or doing things for the freezer, and I really wanted to try making pizza crust that I could like make and freeze. So that is what I did. On this day, I made 2 batches of regular like wheat pizza crust, and then I did one of gluten-free, which I had bought this mix like a while ago, and I thought, okay, this might be the perfect time to use it. It was completely vegan except that it called for eggs, so I just mixed up a flax egg and it worked out fine. I'm actually so impressed how good these pizza crusts came out. They were so easy to make too, and I ended up getting 8 out of the 2 double batches, and then I got 3 out of the gluten-free mix. And then I also made some like homemade healthy peanut butter cups. And then I also made some homemade pepperoni that's like, it's made from like plants. It's hard to explain, but it tastes just like pepperoni, or at least what I can remember. And we had recently bought this meat slicer to like try out because I make a lot of homemade vegan meat. So I thought we would give it a try. This one, you just do it by hand, and it works okay. It definitely got the pepperoni pretty thin, which was nice. So I thought if I made a big batch of pepperoni, then we would have it for the pizzas, and the pizzas were incredible. I don't know why or what it is about it that made them turn out so good, but it was amazing. Obsessed. They're like the perfect size too. I think the pans were like 9-inch cake pans, but basically you just bake the crust for like 10 minutes and then you can take it out and freeze it, or you can use it. But anyway, they turned out really good. And so we had some for dinner that night, and we ate those while we watched an episode of Gilmore Girls. We've been watching that show now for a few weeks because I feel like it's the perfect like fall time show, and it's been a few years since we watched it. Anyway, then we went for a walk, and like the perfect Halloween moon was out, but it's hard to really capture that on film, but it looked like it was from like a cartoon or a movie or something. And since Halloween was only a few days away, I was like, this is amazing. And then when we got home from our walk that night, we decided to watch a movie, just like a short movie, because we were both kind of tired. So I really wanted to watch a Disney movie, so we decided on Sword in the Stone, because I felt like that was kind of fits in with like Halloween. I also just love this movie. I feel like it's such an underrated Disney movie. It's just amazing. We have a heat pump and it blows directly down onto the couch, and so we usually turn it on in the mornings, and Marley loves it up there, so she was really having a great nap with her head just buried into the blankets. It was so cute. So there was actually frost on the roofs. It's the first time I've noticed frost, which I think is pretty good. Anyway, we had pizza again for lunch, and we actually had not finished watching Sword in the Stone the night before because we got too tired. So we turned it off, and so we just finished watching that while we ate our pizza. I honestly love Madame Mim. I think she's so great. She's like one of my favorite Disney villains. Seriously, so underrated. But then we were going out to do some errands and mainly to go thrifting so John could find more things for like to post. And Jimmy was outside living his best life in the sun. Did not want us to leave, I don't think. He's so cute. This is my neighbor's cat, by the way, if you're unfamiliar, and he loves us and we love him. So he's always over on our step. So while we were out, we went to McDonald's because I really wanted to hopefully score one of the new Boo buckets. And while John was in there, I noticed on the sign that they did in fact have them. So they only had the orange ones, which I think they just say that until the orange ones are gone, and then they bring out the green ones. At least that's what I've heard. But I was so excited to have these. The nostalgia is so real. They probably thought you were crazy.
Well, I'm trying to explain to the girls, like, okay, like, honestly, I don't care what you ring in for the Happy Meal then if I need to buy a Happy Meal. But, like, I don't eat meat. I don't eat anything like that. So, like, I just take fries and the drink and just the bucket, you know? And then she's like, okay. So she rings up like as chicken nuggets or whatever. But she's not telling anybody, like, not to make the nuggets. So I'm like, if you want to tell them not to make those nuggets so they don't go to waste, that would be fine too. Unless you guys want to eat them, like, I don't care, but I don't want them. She's like, oh yeah, I should probably tell them that. So she's like, hey, you don't have to make those nuggets. She's explaining, but then that person's not getting it. So they come out and ask me. I'm just like, look, I'm really here just for the buckets, but I need to buy a kid's meal or a Happy Meal, whatever the hell it is. And I don't eat anything here except for like fries. So just give me some fries and some drinks and I'm good. Whatever you guys do behind the scenes doesn't matter. She's like, oh, okay. So you don't want the chicken nuggets then? I was like, I don't eat chicken. I haven't eaten meat in like 10 years. It's like, okay. And then so I'm getting the first one being put up on the counter, and she's putting like a yogurt tube in it. I was like, no, like, I don't want the yogurt tube. I don't know. Just the fries and the drinks would be awesome. Like, please keep the yogurt. I don't want to touch it because then you have to throw it out. So here, you take it out of there, put it back, and we're good to go.
So we finally made it home. We spent a long time in the thrift store, so mainly I was there just to help John find stuff for his shop, which I think we ended up spending like $100, and he listed everything he bought for like $500 maybe, so it was a pretty good day. I found a lot of good things, including those Star Wars sheets, but the one thing I did find for myself was this Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that I didn't have already, which I was kind of surprised. It's from 1980, but I think it'll probably be good. So then later that night, I had made some guacamole from a Boris Karloff recipe, which I posted that video already. So on the same night when I made that, we decided we were going to watch the first two Frankenstein movies, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, which was really nice. It'd been like probably 10 years since I had watched them, so it was nice to watch them again. And we watched those upstairs in the living room on the like old floor model TV, which is a whole vibe. Anytime I'm watching like a classic film on there, it's just the best ever. But we had all the lights like turned out, and so it was like candles going, so it was like it was a nice vibe. I was really feeling the Halloween spirit on this night. Marley was into it as well. So then on Sunday, while John was posting all of his listings that he had got the previous day, I decided to make us some snacks for watching movies. So I made this layered dip with like sour cream and cream cheese on the bottom, salsa, grated cheddar, and green onion, which is so good. And then I also cut up a bunch of vegetables for a vegetable tray. It's like a store-bought tray. I just save it and reuse it, but I cut all those vegetables earlier in the day. And then I had also made a homemade like vegetable ranch dip out of some yogurt and some mayo, so it's like a little healthier. It's so good though. I'm like craving it right now as I'm editing. It also makes good chip dip though, so we had some of those and some tortilla chips for the Mexican dip. And then we also had some crackers and cheese and some of that pepperoni that I had made the day before. And we were just sitting in the basement to watch movies. So cozy. So we decided to watch a couple of vampire movies because, well, they're just Interview with the Vampire is like one of my favorite movies for like Halloween time. And it had been a couple of years since we seen it, so we decided to watch that movie. And then after this movie, we decided to watch Queen of the Damned, which I hadn't seen in a really, really long time. And once we watched it, I remembered why. I really feel like it's not that great of a film, like especially if you compare it to Interview, so which is hard not to do when you've just watched Interview. So it'll probably be a long time before we watch it again. I mean, not the worst movie ever, but it's definitely not super great acting in that film. But I do feel like Interview with the Vampire is a very, very well done film, and it never gets old. So Marley was down there with us too. She was loving it. After we watched the first movie, we folded out the couch into a bed just for comfort. And then finally we land on Halloween. I'm so excited. I love the holidays so much. So since this was a weekday, John had to work, obviously. Marley was enjoying the heat pump again. She's so sweet, so cute. She would just live here under the heat if she could. But I usually, as soon as I get up, I turn it on so that way it warms up the living room, because I'm usually up a few hours before John. So when I came back downstairs to get coffee, that's what I saw. So we're having coffee in our Halloween mugs. I think we got these at Michael's a few years ago. They're nice big mugs though. So while John was working, I also wanted to get some work done, so I wanted to get some things listed. I also had to package up some orders. A few weeks ago, I shared that I had found this bowl for like 50 cents, and I ended up selling it, so I had to pack that up. And I think I had to pack a couple other orders, and I wanted to get a few more things listed. So mainly I was just kind of working on all of that while he was doing his day job. And I was so excited. So while I do stuff like this, I like to listen to podcasts and Turner Classic Movies. The Plot Thickens. Season 4 has started. I'm so excited. Season 4 focuses on Pam Grier, which I'm really excited about because I don't know that much about her. Like, other than, like, I'm familiar with her from the 90s, from the Quentin Tarantino movie. So I will listen to that. It did not disappoint. I also really had to clean in here because I had been packing a bunch of orders over the weekend, and I just didn't clean up, and then it was like crazy messy in here. Plus I had filmed that video where I made the PILLBOX hat. So I did grab a few movies to put on while I was doing all of this after I had listened to the podcast. But I didn't actually end up getting to watch any of them because unfortunately I had started to feel a bit of a headache, migraine situation coming on, so I got really worried. We did end up eating pizza for lunch. I thought maybe if I ate something I'd feel better, but ultimately I decided to get in bed with my like ice pack and all that, and Gatorade sometimes helps as well. So I was like, I'll just drink a Gatorade really quick. I don't like Gatorade at all, but it does help in those situations. Marley again was so excited that I was in bed. But I was super sad and disappointed because it was Halloween and I didn't want to be in bed with a migraine. But thankfully, after a few hours, I felt good enough to get up. And I thought, well, I'll just do some things, and then even if I have to lay down on the couch, it'll be fine. So I was helping John get things ready for outside. We just put like a few decorations out, but we usually just wait until Halloween day. So we got that ready. Jimmy was out there having a time. I think he went back in the house though pretty soon after that, which I was a little concerned. I didn't want Jimmy out during Halloween, but We put these little like battery operated lights out. I'm just showing you them when they're lit up in the dark, and then just a few other things. And then I helped John get ready. He likes to dress up in Paso Candy. He gets like in character. It's really awesome. He has a really good time doing it. So he has been, this is only our second year living here, but he was the same thing as he was last year, which is kind of a like Victorian era vampire. So I helped him get ready for that, and then I got the like treat bags I'd already made out and the chips out. I make this little wall with the chip things in case Jimmy tries to run in, because he would totally act as if he lived here and nobody would realize, and he'd probably just run in. So then I just got some snacks ready for us because we hadn't eaten like anything for dinner. So I made this little snack tray with like mostly leftover snacks, but I also made this cheese ball. I had already had the ball part made, but basically you make it into a little pumpkin, you roll it in cheddar, like grated cheddar, and then you take a pencil and you make like indents into it, like through plastic wrap, and then you just stick a little pepper, like the top part, into it. It makes it look like a pumpkin. My pumpkin last year was definitely cuter than that, but that's fine. So we just have some cheese and crackers, some vegan turkey and salami, some vegan like cheesies. I put out a few extra Fritos that we had, and then veggies and the veggie dip, which was lovely. So I actually just put this out by the door because John usually just sits out there. We put a little table out there for his drink. We get a ton of kids. I think we got like 77 this year. Last year we had over 80. So there's not a lot of time in between kids. So I figured I would just put this here. That way John could like reach it in like moments in between kids. I don't know if I've already shown these or not, but these are like the cutest napkins. And so here's John, a little bit of his costume. I think it looks really good. We found this. I think most everything came from thrift store. Even the hat. The hat was like new, but it was like from Value Village. Anyway, he has a lot of fun doing it and gets like really into character, and it's just really cute. So while John passes out candy, I usually just hang out in the living room and watch like Halloween things. So of course I had to watch It's the Great Pumpkin. I'm such a huge Peanuts fan. And then I watched a few other cartoons. I have this big playlist on my channel of like vintage Halloween things. I honestly love Lucy's mask that she wears. Like, it's so aggressive. But one of my favorite things to watch, I posted about this last night, but is the Paul Lynde Halloween special from 1976. I've been watching it every year now for I think like 5 or 6 years since I found it on YouTube. But I love like old variety specials from like especially the 70s. There's just like a quality about them that I just love. And this one is just, it's like everything. It's hard to explain, but Paul Lynde I'm such a huge fan of. But there's just a whole bunch of guest stars. It's just, I don't know. It's like 1970s perfection in my mind. Then after Halloween was over for trick-or-treating, our like tradition for, I don't know, forever it seems, is to watch Nightmare Before Christmas on Halloween night before we go to bed, which I feel is just the perfect transition movie between Halloween and Christmas, because basically as soon as November comes, I'm all about Christmas. I just love it and I want to enjoy it as long as possible. So anyway, that was our kind of weekend, a little bit before the weekend kind of days in my life. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great Halloween or weekend, and I will see you again in a couple of days.